A big tip for people going through this separation is to have a good support network around them. Make sure that you've got family and friends who are able to support you. And if you don't have that, consider getting a counsellor or someone that you can open up with.
Welcome to Divorce Down Under, the Aussie way, where a regular guy like me, Matt, will help you navigate a fresh start following a divorce. After experiencing a divorce and going through all sorts of emotions, I hope to bring you the right tools and advice so you can set up a better life after divorce. Hear from experts and people like you who have lived it, sharing insights so you may find peace in a new beginning. Welcome, Luke, to Divorce Down Under. I'm actually going to replay the conversation I just had with you off air, and it's a real privilege to have you on this show. I've gone through a lot with you, but we're not going to talk about that today. And you've been a big supporter of me in the past. We all know that I'm a single dad, but I'm in a very good space now. And yeah, welcome to Divorce Down Under, Luke.
Oh, thank you. Thanks, Matt. It's real privilege to be here with you. And similarly, I love your work as well. I'm sure you know. And for those who don't know about what you do, I think the thing that makes you great, just to give you a bit of a plug as well, if I may, is you're such a not only competent guy with the things that you're an expert at, but you're also so easy to deal with, and you've got a good EQ. You're really good with people, I think.
Well, thanks for that, Luke. Maybe I should edit that out. I'm a bit modest, but anyway, thank you. No, but in all seriousness, Luke, you've come a long way in your career, and I think you started out. You're from. You can correct me if I'm wrong there, but you started out in Townsville, and was it about 10 years ago you moved to the Sunshine Coast?
Not quite. 2017, we moved to the Sunshine Coast from Townsville. My wife and our three girls, three beautiful girls. At that stage, I was just thinking about this the other week, actually, that Emily, our youngest, was I think about not quite 2, and so she's about to have her 9th birthday. So it's funny to think that we've been here for what she can remember anyway, the entirety of her life. She probably doesn't have any memories of Townsville, so it's been a little while, I suppose, a chapter in our lives. And it's such a beautiful place. I was at a networking event last night talking to different people about our move and how it's been such a welcome sea change for us to be able to live in such a beautiful part of the world and have such great beaches to visit. So yeah, we love it here. But yes, to answer your query, we did move from Townsville. I was born and bred there, so loved the place, but also happy to be living on the Sunshine Coast now.
I agree. Being a local myself now and on the Sunshine Coast, it's such a beautiful place. So when you moved to the Sunshine Coast, you're obviously practicing law in Townsville, and you made more of a shift, or at least more of a focus on family law. Why did you? Can I ask why you started out in family law? It seems such a challenging industry.
Yeah, it is definitely a challenging area of law. I think probably challenging to different people for different reasons. When I first left university, I was wondering to myself actually what area of law I would practice in. And it's funny that when I left university, I said to myself, well, I don't know yet what I'm going to do, what area of law I'm going to practice in, but I do know that I'm never going to practice in family law. And it's exactly the area that I've moved to, obviously, and now practicing exclusively in that. And in hindsight, I don't mind that at all. It's been very rewarding to be able to work in an area of law where you're not just helping people in a corporate or business sense. You're making an impact and having the privilege of helping people in a way that is so intimate and so meaningful, I think. So I'm I don't regret at all moving into family law. I think it was, a space that was meant for me. And I'm a bit of a people person. I like to connect with people. I like to, work out what makes them tick, what makes them upset, what makes them happy, and do my best to try and problem solve for them to get them to a better spot.
I could agree with that. And I'd say I've known you for a long time, and I think you're the perfect personality for a family lawyer. So I think that's why you've ended up gravitating in this niche of family law. I just found your approach, and yes, I'm biased, but that's because I've had some experiences with you, and they're real. But your approach comes across as more calm, collected, and you're really calculated in your approach. And having gone through the experience, I find there are plenty of bulldog lawyers out there, and that's not you. And what I mean by bulldog is they're not really worried about the circumstances or getting you out to an actual better place. It's more around, I guess you could say, how much they could get out of you. That's not you. Why? Can I ask why you think that might be the case?
I think ultimately it depends on what you're in it for. And, for me, one of the goals I said to myself I'd set out to try to achieve when I opened up the practice is that I wanted clients at the end of their matter to be speaking with people at a barbecue and singing praises for Shanahan family law for the practice. And that was a big thing to me, that I wanted to make sure that you didn't get to the end of the matter and feel like, or have the client feel like they didn't get what they wanted from the relationship. So it's been a big goal of mine to make sure that the practice and the team that we've got, who are fantastic, by the way, really share those same values of getting to the end of a client's matter and feeling like they genuinely help them because it is a privilege. We're put in a privileged position by working closely with our clients on some of the most intimate, and sometimes deepest, darkest parts of their lives as well. And you have to appreciate that you occupy a special position of trust to be able to be put in that position, and that trust should not be taken lightly. I think if you can recognize that it is a privilege and how important it is, I think that helps to be able to deflect the ego, which sometimes comes in, as a lawyer and people in general. I think we've all got a little bit of that element to us, that ego, and I think it's when you lose your focus on helping people that the ego starts to creep in, and that's where sometimes I think that bulldog mentality can start to take hold, where you're no longer focusing on solving problems for the client. You become more interested in what you look like, or how you're performing in the equation, rather than keeping the focus on the client. So for me, it's easy. I don't have any problem at all in taking an approach where we're not bulldog lawyers, and that's because I like to think that we're more focused on solving the client's issues and problems than on ourselves.
Yeah, 100%. I think you said it well, and I think you either sell to someone or you service them. And I think something you do really well is you service. You're there to resolve whatever family matter that is. And I think one thing that I learnt in the space is that a lawyer can create or can have a matter and push out 30 plus pages of whatever it is that's going on, but the reply doesn't need to be 30 pages back, because that's where the cost is, and that's where it becomes really lengthy, and that's where it becomes stressful. And I think, having dealt with you personally, I think this is something you're really good at. You think about the reply, and that impacts on overall, the charges, which we all know can be costly. Can you talk more about that?
Yeah, I think I think that comes, with experience as well as family lawyers, coming straight out of university and acting as a graduate lawyer. You're obviously not the polished lawyer that you end up being later on down the track, but over time and with experience, I think you learn to focus on what's separate the wheat from the chaff, so to speak. So you need to be able to look at the issues in a matter, and that comes with experience, where you've dealt with issues long enough and you've thought about these things long enough to know that when you get a lengthy letter from another law firm, you can immediately see with experience all of the issues, some that are distractions more so than things that need a lot of time spent on. And I try to, I suppose, communicate that to clients as well, because one of the big issues, I think, with family law and the way it's practiced at the moment is that there's a lot of mudslinging that goes on, and that can sometimes detract from the progress of a matter. It can slow it
Yeah.
down. It can,
Yeah.
you know what I'm talking about. You can easily get diverted from the main outcomes,
At the
because it
detriment of
becomes.
the parties too.
That's right, yeah, and I think it's incumbent on the lawyers representing clients going through this time, who aren't necessarily thinking as clearly as they normally do, um, to keep them on track. Really, keep them
Yeah.
focused on the big issues, and not let the client's emotions and the issues that are going back and forth between parties run away with them, and it can quite easily run away, because emotions are charged sometimes, and if you're not wise to it as the practitioner, the lawyer that's advising the client, you can quite easily find yourself 6 months down the track and not having progressed very far, other than to entrench these parties in further acrimony, and scratching your head as a junior lawyer, thinking to yourself, how did we get here? How has this
Yeah.
matter not progressed? You really do need to take the reins and guide the clients through a difficult time, because emotionally, they may not be regulating correctly, and they really do need that firm guidance, firm but caring at the same time.
Could you share with the viewers maybe a couple of simple tips that that they could follow? As an example, I know for one sake is that it's taught that you should treat the relationship of an ex, especially more so like a business relationship, and be respectful when it comes to your replies. That's my little tip. But could you share a few of your simple tips on just anything with regards to divorce?
Yeah, so in terms of tips, I think that probably a big tip for people going through this separation is to have a good support network around them. Make sure that you've got family and friends in supporting, who are able to support you. And if you don't have that, then really seriously consider getting a counsellor or someone that you can open up with, and I think journaling is a part of that as well. Is getting your feelings out of your head onto paper as well. Your mindset is so key during that time frame. So there's I suppose a myriad of things that you can be doing in terms of trying to improve your mindset. Journaling is just one of them. Keeping up your exercise, keeping your endorphins high. Um, Trying your best not to get involved in all of the little skirmishes along the way. I think a big thing that I see time and again with clients is that they get sucked into arguing about small, insignificant things, and not focusing on the big picture. I mean, it's easy to say that when you're not involved in it and it's not your life. I know that, but it is those who have the capacity to focus on the big picture and not get bogged down in the detail, I think, are those who deal with it a little bit better. And then, as you said before, another great tip is to make sure that and again, it's easier said than done. You're treating the relationship, which was, once an intimate romantic relationship, now it's not, treating it like a business relationship, and that's particularly so in property settlement matters. A bit harder to do that when you've got a parenting matter that you're trying to negotiate, but certainly with property, it helps, I think, for clients to think about those sorts of things in a transactional sort of business fashion. And not everyone can do it. I appreciate that, but those who can seem to move through it a little bit better.
I agree, and from memory, you wrote a really good article on. You just touched on having the right mental mind frame, and there was a good article I think you wrote around mental toughness, and how I remember you talked about having low self-esteem, and when you don't have that mental toughness, and to focus on things like that. And I agree, because I came from that sort of area where I didn't have a strong mental toughness, and it doesn't mean mental toughness that you are this hard, cold person. What it does mean is that you have control of the things that make you anxious. So yeah, I'll actually include a link to that in the show, because I actually enjoyed reading that article on mental toughness.
So key. Yeah, it makes such a difference for when you're going through that difficult time.
Yeah, definitely. And just before we part ways, was there anything you wanted to leave with?
Well, I think what you like to do in your shows is to leave a question hanging in the air for perhaps the next presenter to come along. So I think a great question might be for, if you're having a counsellor come on to the show, or a psychologist. I think a great question for them would be what people going through this difficult time can do from their perspective. What coping techniques might be available to people going through this separation to help them to not go through so much of a roller coaster emotionally with all the highs and lows of it all. So I think, yeah, that's something to just leave in the air for your next guest to go through and unpack a little bit more.
You beat me to it. You knew that was my question of I need a question from you to ask the next presenter. And I think that that's a good question, Luke. And it's something we can ask anyone, to be honest. It can be someone that's going through a divorce. It can be someone and they can share their experiences, and it can be a counsellor, it can be a lawyer. So a great question. I look forward to asking that to the next guest online. I'd like to thank you for your time. I know, you've got a busy practice, and you're looking after some difficult circumstances on the sunny coast and the Gold Coast, and Brisbane, I think you are. And yeah, thanks again for joining us on Divorce Down Under, Luke.
My absolute pleasure. Thank you very much, Matt, for having me.
Cheers. Thanks for now. Bye for now.
Bye for now.
Thank you for listening to Divorce Down Under, the Aussie way, helping you navigate a fresh start after divorce. We hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, please leave a review from wherever you are watching or listening, and don't forget to share this with your friends. Also, let us know what you want to hear in future episodes. See you next time for a new episode of Divorce Down Under.